afternoon, President Bush has gone to the San Francisco Bay Area for a first-hand look now at the damage done by this week's earthquake.
And he promised local officials he would cooperate as best he could with relief efforts to those hit hardest.
Mr. Bush was taken on a tour of the area where most of the people lost their lives, that being Highway 880. He spoke with rescue workers as police showed him how the top section of this highway crushed dozens of cars beneath. The president told local officials he would work with them and announced the appointment of Transportation Secretary Samuel Skinner to head the federal effort.
Dozens of aftershocks are being felt in Northern California following the quake on Tuesday. The largest aftershock today registered 3.9 on the Richter scale. On ABC's Primetime Live last night, we got our first look at a videotape shot during Tuesday's quake at a San Jose daycare center. And this tape that was shot by a security camera in a bar in San Francisco. You can see the bar patrons race out as shelves around them begin to fall. Geologists are taking a long look at the fault line that caused the quake, looking for clues that may help them to predict future quakes. Perhaps the best news since the quake came when it was announced the death toll on Highway 880 might be smaller than expected because not as many cars were being found as officials had feared. Still, bodies are being removed from the rubble, and workers say it is grisly work.
We are looking at ways in which we can expedite the removal of the structure to expose as quick as possible the cars and any victims that may be in there.
Those who survived the cave-in of the highway are telling frightening stories of their ordeal on the collapsing roadway.
There was just a domino effect in front of me, and everything was coming down. All the pavement and glass everywhere, and I didn't know how to avoid it, and I didn't know what to do. And as I tried to brake, the car would swerve even more. And so the third lane, it started to make a big, ramp, and so I drove straight up the ramp. And when I got to the top, I tried to stop, but I went right over the edge, and I think I must have blacked out because I was going straight down.
All around the Bay Area, there are heartwarming stories being told of heroics the night of the tremor. This man, Jerry Shannon, worked for hours in the dark under a collapsed apartment building to save this woman.
I took her hand, and she was holding my hand, and she said, I don't want to die in here. Please don't leave me.
He was just wonderful. He gets the hero of the year award, or any year as far as I'm concerned.
You were tough, made it easy.
Thank you.
Well, electricity has now been restored for about 98% of the area, but the crisis continues for about 10,000 people who are still homeless. Damage estimates for the total affected area are now put at about $10 billion.
Here in Greater Cleveland, our generosity is showing. Rebecca Shaw tells us about the outpouring of volunteers, money, and prayers that today were extended to our neighbors to the west.
A somber gathering today at the First United Methodist Church downtown, where Cleveland religious leaders sent up prayers of love and support for the victims of the earthquake. The service was conducted and attended by representatives from all denominations, a coming together, an offering of prayer for our brothers and sisters thousands of miles away.
The ground moves under each and every one of us. No one is secure. We are all bound to each other.
You could designate like $5 for the earthquake, $5 for the hurricane, or you could write 2 separate checks.
Across town, support of a different kind was also flowing. Financial support to the American Red Cross, support that is desperately needed, especially since the earthquake and Hurricane Hugo struck in the same month. Typically, Clevelanders are being very generous.
The response from the greater Cleveland community has just been extraordinary.
The local chapter has a goal of some $500,000 as their portion of the national relief effort. By the end of today, about $200,000 had been given.
They're just coming from all aspects of the community. We have people walking in our door writing us a check.
This $2,000 check and the assorted cash you see came from a Baptist collection plate passed during a service this noon. The checks are coming in with amounts of $25 and $50, higher than the amounts collected during a normal fundraising drive. But the need is more urgent, and the need is still present. Rebecca Shaw, Eyewitness News.
The phone number of the Red Cross where you can donate bears repeating. You can call 1-800-453-9000 or 781-1800. The National Council of Churches also has started a fund. For information on that, contact the Interchurch Council of Greater Cleveland.
As we speak, the president is on his way back to Washington, having finished a tour of earthquake-ravaged Northern California. He left the state via the Moffett Naval Airfield that's near San Francisco. Dave Andrews is there now, and he joins us via News Star 5. Dave, thanks for joining us once again. Did the president have any closing remarks as he left, Dave?
Yes, he did. He spoke with reporters about 25 minutes ago, just before he left the Moffett Naval Air Station here in Mountain View, California. Now, the president would not be pinned down on exactly how many federal dollars the earthquake victims here in the Bay Area could expect, but he did say, and we quote, "We will do what is necessary to get the job done and fulfill our federal responsibilities." Now, this followed a 5-hour tour of the devastation here in the Bay Area, and the first stop this morning on the president's tour was the elevated highway in Oakland, California, the Interstate 880, where there's been so much devastation and loss of life. The president took a walking tour along the elevated stretch of the road for about 4 blocks, stopping to talk with several of the rescue and construction workers. He said he was overwhelmed by what he saw, as has been everyone who has witnessed the scene. He has been praising all day long the volunteer efforts of the community that have come together to help the earthquake victims, and he has also praised the state of California. Now, the state of California is calling for possibly raising the gas tax here by 25 cents a gallon to raise millions of dollars for the earthquake victims. Several California legislators are proposing a $2.5 billion bill in Washington next week to go to earthquake assistance. But the president would not be pinned down as to whether he would support that bill or exactly how much federal assistance he would call for. He said it is much too early to start talking about precise figures of what will be needed in federal dollars because the exact estimates are not coming in. But one estimate is that the total devastation here in the Bay Area will run close to $10 billion. And people here are looking for at least 50% of federal help for that. So that would be a figure of $5 billion.
Yes.
And that would mean cutting spending in other federal programs or raising new taxes. But the president would not be pinned down on exactly where he stands on that at this point.
All right, the mayor of San Francisco had, as we know, been very unhappy because Dan Quayle did not meet with him. Is he happier now that the president's been there?
Yes, he's much happier. He did. Mayor Art Agnos of San Francisco, along with the mayor of Oakland and the mayor of Santa Cruz, all toured the scenes today with President Bush. And the mayor of San Francisco said he did not have any problem with President Bush. He was just a little offended that Vice President Quayle did not contact him in person when Quayle came to San Francisco. But the mayor says that he does not want to make this a partisan issue or bring politics into this. And the president agreed, saying should not be political in any means. It's time for Democrats and Republicans to pull together to try to solve the problems here.
Well, we hope people have been reassured by this visit. Thank you for giving us this information, Dave.
East Cleveland was the scene today of an enormous funeral procession for a CMHA security guard who was shot to death last weekend. More than 40 police cars took part, as well as bagpipers and a 21-gun salute. The funeral was for Alcee McCrae, who was killed last Saturday while on duty. McCrae's partner was also wounded. The suspect in the case, Willie Wright, was shot as well. He remains in Lutheran Hospital in stable condition. He will be charged with aggravated murder and attempted murder. 2 Cleveland brothers are going to jail for as much as 15 years each for shooting 4 black teenagers last March. They are Gregory and Daniel Ross, 19 and 20 years old. They were found guilty of shooting the 4 teenagers with a shotgun after following them in a car and then getting out and chasing them on foot. Police said the shooting near East 91st and Harvard was racially motivated. The victims were not seriously hurt.
Well, 2 other black men are wondering tonight who is harassing them by spray painting racial epithets on the outside of their West Side Cleveland home. For the 3rd time this year, vandals spray painted the West Side home of Terrence Hart and William Rhodes. They also slashed 3 of the 4 tires on Hart's car. Police have no idea who did it, but they are following leads from the pair. Compounding their troubles is the fact that both men have AIDS.
I'm kind of scared to even stay here, okay, because we don't know if it's, by the time we go to sleep or something, they might want to break a window.
Cliff Caldwell is going to tell us at 6 o'clock tonight how this racial hatred is affecting the men's lives.
Some 30,000 customers are still without power tonight in southwestern Ohio. Power company crews worked through the night last night and again today to get power back to about 100,000 homes and businesses. Lines were knocked down late yesterday by the state's abrupt reunion with winter weather, with 4 to 6 inches of snow in the Cincinnati area. The city, by the way, provided shelter last night for people who had no heat.
My, my.
Did you know the sun shone today?
Very briefly.
About 10 seconds.
Yes.
But I did see it. It was this morning, and I thought, Webster blew the forecast, thank goodness. But alas.
Alas, I did not, right?
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, we have snow showers all around us. You know, we have really lucked out here because just west of us and southwest of us, they've had a lot of snow. And it's snowing as far south as South Carolina, believe it or not. But we have not been getting it here. But let us have a look now at our radar and find out what's out there. And as we check the radar, alas, as you would say, Roy, we're getting returns. Some of this is drizzle, some of it is rain, and yes, some of it is snow. And there's a real good chance of picking up some snow tonight. In all probability, we could see in most areas about 1 inch on the ground by morning, a little bit more tomorrow, and then it's going to turn warm, so that's not too bad at all. Let's have a look at our forecast, first of all, for tonight. Cloudy and light snow with a low of 33 degrees. That definitely is going to be a cold, cold night. And looking ahead now to tomorrow, some snow changing back to drizzle later in the day with a high of 43. And then after that, a warming trend is going to set in. We'll check that with our 5-day forecast in just a few minutes. But right now, just bear with the snow for a little bit for the next couple of days.
I can see my breath for the first time today outside.
You know, they get freezing temperatures as far south as, I think, southern Georgia. And
yeah, that's right.
Like that.
Yep. Down into northern Florida, as a matter of fact, yeah. 45 cities across the United States set record new low temperatures last night. Yeah.
It's still October.
One.
Yeah.
Thanks, Don.
The final rush hour of the week has arrived. Let's check in at Traffic Center 5 to see if it's a smooth ride home. We hope it is. Dave Barron has the details for us. Wow, David, some shirt.
Well, you're talking about the cold air outside. I'm not going to let it get me down. It was like 80 at the beginning of the week. It's down to the 30s to now. It's still. I'm not going to give up, folks. We got that little hole of sunshine this morning, and it was enough to worthwhile to warrant this shirt. Anyhow, but let's take a look at what's going on out there with Skycam. I'm going to show you some more color. I think folks should get out there this weekend if you can, and hopefully the weather will cooperate, and see some of this beautiful color as you head out downtown. Right now, we are seeing a lot of color of brake lights on 77 southbound. In fact, let's take a look at the computer graphic. It shows clean and green. We earlier had a disabled car that was down in the area of Harvard that has just been cleared, but you see brake lights all the way southbound. So if you're expecting somebody home southbound on 77, that disabled car is what caused all this backup earlier, but that has been cleared off of the road and is no longer a factor. Watch for construction also on East 9th Street, and this will be throughout the weekend, I'm sure. It's in the left lane northbound in the area of Huron. For motorists around town, though, it should be smooth sailing and on time for whatever you have planned or expect home, except for on 77.
David, let's see the collar up for just a quick second.
Should I put the collar up?
Just real fast, real fast.
The Don Johnson look?
Oh, there you go.
Whoa, look out.
Are you slick? Okay, we'll check with him later.
I want to tell you, wild and crazy guy, you know?
We're going to come back to him, aren't we, in about 30 minutes, as a matter of fact, for a final check on the Friday rush hour. We created a monster, I can tell, but he looks
definitely
cute like that.
Yeah. Hardly wait for tomorrow. And Fatal Attraction. She was a nasty lady. She was trying to wreck a family. In her new film, she's trying to start a family. We'll talk with Glenn Close when we come back.
And then ahead, Dr. Ted Castell with important health news, this time about a measles outbreak. So stay with us. Much more live on 5.
Well, the accusations continue to fly in the race to become Cleveland's next mayor.
We are going to catch up with the candidates and tell you what happened on the campaign trail today when Eyewitness News returns live on 5.
Accommodations for guests of Live on 5 are provided by the Stouffer Tower City Plaza Hotel.
Mike White says he's concerned about the events of the past 24 hours, but that his conscience is clear. As we told you last night, White's second wife, Karen, is accusing him of wife abuse. The charge continues to dominate the campaign today, and our Lou Maglio joins us live from the Eyewitness newsroom right now. And Lou, you spoke with White's lawyer, and you went through a great many documents today, I know. What did you find?
Roy, Mike White invited us to visit his lawyer and to pour through those documents. We didn't expect to find anything incriminating, and we didn't. Mary Adele Springman handled the case for White. She showed me all of the papers relating to the dissolution of Mike and Karen White's marriage. There is no mention of any specific charges.
This is a dissolution, and the whole point of a dissolution, or a major point of a dissolution, is not to make whatever the differences are between the parties a matter of public record.
She tells me the matter of wife abuse never came up in conversations between lawyers. White is making several campaign stops today. You see him here at a seniors center on the east side. He says he's got nothing to hide and that he's not guilty of Karen White's charges.
I'm going to continue to talk about what the people of the city want me to talk about, and I think what they want me to talk about is a cleaner, safer, more decent city. And then on November 7th, I'll let them decide.
What about
Thank you very much. Excuse me.
Motivation?
Excuse me. I can't say what anyone's motivation is, and I don't blame anyone.
Senator. White maintains his marriage of less than 2 years ended because of Karen's substance abuse and because she wouldn't get help. Now, there's a hospital report that labels Karen as an abused spouse. White staffers say if she was abused, Mike White is not the culprit. Roy George Forbes, White's opponent in the mayor's race, still is not commenting on these latest revelations.
Okay, Lou, thank you. By the way, Mike White's first wife, Linda, as you may remember, alleged wife abuse during court proceedings. White also denies those charges. Linda White's current husband says White never abused Linda.
17 people are fighting to win a seat on the Cleveland School Board, and never was that desire more obvious than today at a candidates forum at Cleveland Works. Most of those on the ballot showed up to debate the issues in front of these welfare mothers. The topic which came up the most was busing.
Busing is the one devastating thing that has been around the neck of the Clevelanders for 13 years, and it hasn't proved one single thing right to this day.
Many of these women will vote for the first time in November. They said the forum gave them an opportunity to decide who they will elect to fill the 5 open seats.
As of today, the Juvenile Justice Center in Lake County is broke, out of money, until a new budget is approved by county commissioners for next year. Judge Richard Hoos is asking the county to fund the court until the end of the year, but commissioners say no way until the judge recalls the $228,000 in salary increases he dished out to staff members 5 months ago. The raises range from $3,000 to $5,000 a year. The judge claims his staff has been pitifully underpaid for years, and he said he just wanted to put them on a par with staff and guards working in the sheriff's department. Now, this will be the last day on the job for those staff members, unless the county okays additional funding.
Well, talking about money, what do you think the going rate for a personal appearance by Ronald Reagan is? Here's a hint for you.
You'll be amazed.
It's in the millions. More on that coming up next.
Plus a shuttle's eye view of a thunderstorm. That, along with Don's down-to-earth forecast when we come back live on 5.
You're watching Cleveland's first news in the afternoon. Eyewitness News, live on 5.
And for those of you who are just joining us at 5:30, here's a look at some of the day's top stories.
President Bush got a first-hand look at earthquake-ravaged California today. The president said he was deeply moved and saddened by the sight of Interstate 880, which collapsed on hundreds of people.
A memorial service for those killed in the quake was held today at a downtown Cleveland church. As Red Cross officials report, they have already collected $200,000 for relief efforts.
Also, many people in the southern part of Ohio are still without power today because of heavy snows there yesterday.
Don will be along in just a little while with a look at the still chilly forecast for our area.
And yet another earthquake is making world headlines today. This one is in Italy. Ted Henry has details on it and other headlines for us from the newsroom. Ted.
Well, it's absolutely incredible about the number of earthquakes in the last several days throughout the world. Today's tremor shook buildings near the city of Rome, creating panic but no serious injuries or damage, we're happy to point out. The tremor registered about 6.5. That's not small. That's on Europe's Mercalli scale. That's enough to cause some damage. Cracked walls and damaged telephone lines were all that was reported, thank goodness. And these are some of the very first pictures from northern China, where 5 quakes did serious damage yesterday. 29 people were killed, 10,000 homes destroyed by the tremors. Residents here say a mild earthquake may have saved their lives as it got them out of houses before a larger quake hit just minutes later. Firefighters in Los Angeles had to take the to the roof of this high-rise building this morning to fight a top-floor fire there. More than 250 firefighters were on hand to battle this blaze, which broke out after midnight Pacific time. Only an unoccupied machinery room was damaged, and the cause of the fire is not yet really known. What you're looking at here is lightning, as seen today from the space shuttle Atlantis. Isn't that amazing? The crew of the Atlantis shot these pictures over a thunderstorm as they were performing experiments. The crew will continue photographing different areas of the Earth until Monday's scheduled landing in California. The Senate today voted to impeach Florida's federal court judge Elsie Hastings. Hastings was charged with conspiring to take $150,000 payoff money, and he's the first black judge in Florida ever to lose his seat on the bench. Hastings maintains he is innocent of the charges. He also says he's upbeat and ready to run for the office of Florida governor. And finally, former President Ronald Reagan and wife Nancy are traveling abroad. They began an 11-day-long trip to Japan today. The Japanese conglomerate that brought them in reportedly paid the Reagans $2 million for the visit, and Mr. and Mrs. Reagan filled extra seats, about 100 or so extra seats on their plane, by inviting more than 200 family members of U.S. servicemen in Japan to come along free of charge. And Wilma, back to you and Roy with more Live on 5.
All right, look for you later, Ted.
Okay.
Don says he'd have made that appearance for half the $2 million.
We all would.
Sure. And given them a forecast besides.
That's right. I would have taken you guys along with me, too.
Would you
What
really?
a guy.
How
What a
nice.
guy.
And red and scarlet, too.
Yeah, they'd love to go.
Right.
They like to travel.
Oh, they wouldn't want to go there. They eat dogs in the Orient.
Oh, please. What an awful thing to say, Doug. You have a dog.
I know. That's why I never would take my dog to the Orient. Absolutely. All right, let's have a look now what is happening over the next 5 days. This is what everybody has been waiting for, and tomorrow we have some snow in the forecast. It'll start tonight. We'll have some light snow and the possibility of a little bit of accumulation tonight and early tomorrow. Then it'll change back to drizzle. Then later on Sunday, we'll get back to partly cloudy skies. A little peak of the sunshine, but that's only a tease, because later on Monday, it will cloud over once again, and there's a chance of picking up some showers Monday night and on into the first part of Tuesday. Then it'll clear out later on Tuesday, and Wednesday back to partly cloudy skies once again. But all during this period, the temperatures will be on the rise, and that certainly is the good news. Saturday, kind of chilly, 43. Sunday, 55. Monday, 58. Tuesday, 65. And Wednesday, 66. And the overnight lows, too, will be rising. 35, 35, 35 for Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, 43 on Tuesday, and 45 degrees, at least the mid-40s on Wednesday. So things definitely will be getting better. We will be back to Indian summer once again. Right. But tonight and early tomorrow, a chance of some accumulation.
And the weather for the game Monday night?
Game for the weather for the game, the game for the weather, is going to be cloudy, chance of a shower, and
warmish.
Probably about 50 degrees.
Oh,
that's not all. That's football weather.
Yeah, it's football weather, sure.
We can even beat them in weather like that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the great football weather is tonight for the high school football games. I mean, the kids are going to have a lot of fun out there.
They are.
A lot of sniffles starting tomorrow morning.
You got to be nice to Rhett, by the way. He has surgery scheduled next week.
Oh.
Poor Rhett.
What's happening to Rhett?
Well, we'll tell you next time.
Ooh.
All right. An update on the surgery. All right, the afternoon rush hour should be winding down very soon. Let's get a final check on any tie-ups along the way. Dave Barron, once again, shirt and all from Traffic Center 5. Hello, David.
Hello, Wilma. And Don and Wilma, stay tuned, Roy, because we don't have to wait till later for those snow showers. We have one of our airplanes right now over in south of the city. We already reported some snow in the air down towards the Cloverleaf area, and that is may not hit the ground, though, because of the adiabatic lapse rate. And consequently, it is up there in the atmosphere where we're flying around when we're watching traffic. But right now, for motorists, it may not be hitting the ground. Again, some light snow down south of 77 and I-480. Looking out at 77 right now, heading out of downtown, very heavy. Let's take a look at the computer graphics. See, it's clean and green, except for a backup we want to show you that extends all the way out to town on 77 because of an earlier disabled car. That car has been cleared. It's no longer a factor, but some heavy traffic and some late motorists on 77 this evening. From the Traffic Center, I'm Dave Barron.
That's the adiabatic lapse rate?
That's right. Stay
My
tuned.
goodness, that's an intelligent shirt as well.
Well, I'll tell you.
Wear it again. It looks good, Dave.
Kind of like my thinking cap.
I think so. Thanks.
Okay. We'll have to put a segment aside next week just to get an explanation on that.
The adiabatic lapse rate.
Never heard of that. The
it
back
kind of rolls through your mouth when you
probably
say
has something to do with the back and forth temperatures we've been having, and those temperatures are an ideal time to come down with an illness. Dr. Ted Costello has some advice and word of more measles problems when we come back.
He's also going to take your phone calls, 578-1000, the number. As usual, that's next, live on 5.
Chances are you know somebody who's under the weather right about now. The changing temperatures is one of the reasons. Medical editor Dr. Ted Castell joins us now with more on that and an update on the measles epidemic. And in just a minute, he'll take your health care calls at 578-1000. Dr. Ted, you have any sniffles, any little cough?
Well, not today, but with this kind of weather, you never know what tomorrow's liable to bring.
We've got a lot of it in this building. There really is a bug going around Channel 5.
There always seems to be a bug going around somewhere. You know, Roy, a study was made some time ago, many years ago, as to whether or not cold weather would bring on a cold. And the answer at that time was no, it would not, that you had to have a virus as well. But I think right now most of us believe that if you have the virus, I would still cover up well and keep your feet dry and keep your head covered, because I think that you might catch a cold with that virus in there.
For some reason, we do seem to get sick when the weather changes.
I don't think there's any question about that.
What do we do to prevent it? You just gave a couple of the things, but the idea, I guess, is to stay warm and try to keep that variation in temperature down as much as possible.
I think so. What you want to do is keep your immune system high. Now, there's nothing you can do directly to do that, but if you're exercising, running around, perspiring a lot and run outside, your immune system is going to be down. That's when you're liable to have trouble.
Any old-fashioned remedies you'd like to pass along?
Well, you know, the old chicken soup's not a bad idea.
It does seem to work.
I think the best thing is just to rest and stay home and drink fluids. And orange juice, I think, is good because it's a fluid. I don't think high levels of vitamin C are going to do anything for you, but I think we just stay home, take it easy. Take Tylenol.
Now, we're hearing some warnings about measles again. Apparently there's an outbreak.
This is becoming a very serious matter. If you recall last spring, we had a lot of outbreaks around the country, particularly in colleges, where 1 or 2 college students would come down with measles, and then pretty soon their entire dormitory or their entire class would have measles. And measles is really potentially very serious. Most cases of measles, the patients have no trouble at all, but in a few they can have encephalitis, they can have ear infections, they can even have pneumonia. Some even can die, so we'd like to keep the measles level down as much as we can. And there are some new regulations coming out of the CDC now which are recommending an additional measles shot for young kiddies over and above the ones that they have been getting. Recently, we've been giving kiddies shots at 15 months. That's the standard time to get your measles shot. Now they're recommending an additional shot when they enter school, or at least when they enter either kindergarten or first grade. For those who are in college or in high school or anywhere along the line there, if there's an outbreak, most people believe you should immunize just about everybody.
Okay, good advice. Ask your doctor again to be sure on how he feels, but I know they are recommending that second shot. Time for some callers. Ready for the first one? All right, you're on the air with Dr. Castell.
Yes, doctor. I'd like to know what kind of vitamins should a construction worker do early in the morning in the wintertime?
Good question, and I think everybody realizes we must have vitamins. Without vitamins, one cannot live. However, if you have a healthy diet, a well-balanced diet, then probably you're getting all the vitamins you need. And if you buy more in the store, you'll probably just lose them and urinate them away and lose your money. However, I do not necessarily mean to say you shouldn't take vitamins. If you're concerned about whether your diet's good or bad, get some vitamins in the drugstore, the cheapest you can, multivitamins, 1 a day type vitamins.
Doctor, how do we know if we need vitamins without going through a big physical or test at the doctor's office?
It's almost impossible to really do that kind of testing, Roy, except under experimental conditions. The best thing is if you're eating 3 meals a day, well-balanced meals, you're getting food from all the 4 food groups, the meat, the fish, the vegetables, the breads, the cereals, the milk, and so forth, then you probably really do not need vitamins. But if you're a college student, for example, or a hard worker like this gentleman and may not be getting regular meals, you may have to take vitamins just to be sure you're getting enough.
Okay, another call for Dr. Castell.
With a bout of pneumonia, how long should one stay in the house?
It all depends on whether you're talking about viral pneumonia or bacterial pneumonia. I can tell you that all the tests for a person with pneumonia can be normal after a matter of 10 days to 2 weeks, but you can feel pretty bad for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or even longer. I know because I had viral pneumonia this summer, and it can take a long time. To give you a direct answer, probably a couple weeks is okay.
Okay, Dr. Taylor, let's try to squeeze in one more call.
All right. Would a cold or a virus cause a nosebleed? I woke up with a nosebleed on the one side.
I don't think that a virus will directly cause it, but if you have a cold, you may be blowing your nose very hard, and that may be causing the nosebleed. Just keep in mind that that's a possibility. If you have serious nosebleeds, you ought to see a doctor because it could be due to high blood pressure, and if you have that, that can be treated.
Okay, Dr. Ted, this general subject of colds will be one we'll be talking about a lot this winter, as usual. So
forever.
We'll see you again soon.
Fine, very good. Thank you.
Dr. Ted Castell, Channel 5 medical editor. Back to Wilma.
The plans for the Inventors Hall of Fame were unveiled today in Akron. We will give you a look at it when we come back. And the Bay Area earthquake could have an effect on your insurance rates. Deborah Lee's Dollars and Cents Report is next, live on 5. Yet another earthquake is in the news today, but this one happened 10 months ago. Ted Henry is in the newsroom now to explain it and look ahead to Eyewitness News at 6 o'clock.
Wilma, it's certainly strange that an earthquake from nearly a year ago is still claiming lives, but indirectly it is. A Soviet newspaper is now reporting the crash of an airplane carrying construction equipment to the site of last year's big earthquake in Soviet Armenia. Now, that earthquake, you recall, took place back in December. The paper says that all 17 people on board that plane were killed. Coming up tonight at 6 o'clock, we'll have more of the day's news, including the latest on these stories.
I'm Lou Maglio. As we told you, Mike White is still denying charges that he abused his second wife. You'll hear more from him and his lawyer as the news continues.
They're black, they have AIDS, and someone is trying to drive them from their home. I'm Cliff Caldwell. At 6, the story of their fight to live and die in dignity.
How does the tragedy in San Francisco compare to the devastation caused by the giant earthquake in Mexico City 5 years ago? There are 2 points of comparison that may surprise you, and I'll have that story on my journal report coming up at 6. Also coming up tonight, more on the weekend ahead, and we'll see how the Browns are set for their game with the Bears on Monday. Wilma, now back to you and Roy with more Live on 5.
All right, Ted, look for you later. Thanks.
Okay. First, it was Hurricane Hugo, then the San Francisco earthquake. Insurance companies have certainly been busy in the past month. Dollars and Cents reporter Deborah Lee joins us now with word on what impact, if any, this is going to have on our insurance rates.
Well,
Deborah?
you know, there are some experts that are predicting that we will see an increase in insurance rates. However, the good news is our local insurance industry is not anticipating an increase here in connection with the earthquake or with Hugo. With damage estimates from the Bay Area earthquake now in the billions of dollars, there are predictions of a global increase in insurance rates. But one local insurance expert says our rates won't be affected here in Cleveland or anywhere in Ohio for that matter. John O'Rear of the Insurance Board of Greater Cleveland says there could be an effect on earthquake insurance when companies renegotiate their reinsurance treaties in January.
It'd be an increase to anybody that wants to buy earthquake insurance. And of course, in the Cleveland area, very few people buy it. It's very reasonable here. On a $100,000 home, it'd be something like $100 a year with a 2% deductible.
O'Rear says insurance companies are careful about how much they retain, and they reinsure anything over that amount, so a severe loss will not put them out of business.
A company will say, I will write up to $1 million of earthquake coverage. And if you want more, then you have to go to a reinsurance. And so they'll go to a Lloyd's of London, for example, that say, okay, I'll take the next $2 million. And then Zurich or Munich Re, one of the other reinsurance companies, will say, okay, I will take another $1 million on top of that.
According to O'Rear, insurance companies anticipate a major catastrophe every 4 to 5 years, and they are prepared to handle them. Now, O'Rear says the insurance industry actually took a bigger hit from Hugo than from the earthquake, because less than 20% of the people out in San Francisco even had earthquake insurance.
That's a tragic story, though, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, Deb, thank you.
Well, honoring the past and challenging the future, that's the motto of the new National Inventors Hall of Fame to be built in Akron. Today, for the first time, artist renderings for the new $35 million center were unveiled. As David Christopher reports, organizers predict that more than 300,000 people annually are going to visit this new Hall of Fame.
From Edison, Bell, and Ford to Charles Goodyear, all will have a permanent spot in history in Akron.
Can we get Sikorsky's first helicopter? Can we get the first satellite?
Hall of Fame director Ed Sobey for years has dreamed of the unique Inventors Hall of Fame. Tonight, it's a reality. These designs illustrate the contemporary look, which features a sweeping sail of metal rising more than 100 feet into the air, along with a tower rising hundreds of feet.
You're going through the 4 eras of American invention, and finally you're landing at the year 2000. And what do we see for the future?
The Inventors Hall will be located here in the heart of downtown Akron, right next to the university. Organizers are hopeful that it will be a catalyst for future downtown development, while at the same time bringing hundreds of thousands of new tourists into Akron annually.
This is the one place in America where those great American inventors are enshrined. They're all here. They know a lot of the products and not the names, the pacemaker and the oral contraceptives and a whole variety of things that have shaped our society.
The 80,000 square foot building, which includes a 270-seat theater, was designed by former Akron architect James Polshek, who hopes the design will be the center for the nucleus of a new Akron. David Christopher, Eyewitness News.
Once again, groundbreaking ceremonies for the Inventors Hall of Fame are tentatively set for April 8th, 1990, with construction expected to take just under 2 years for that groundbreaking.
Looking for something to do this weekend? Look no further.
Well, David Moss has compiled a long list of weekend activities around town. He's going to show us what's out there when we come back. Live on 5.